Hello and welcome, strangers and friends. In this video, I'm recreating the House of Fallen Trees from The Sims 2's downtown neighborhood in The Sims 3. This build is part of a larger project I'm working on where I'm creating a custom world in The Sims 3 that is composed of a combination of neighborhoods seen in the previous two games, The Sims and The Sims 2. I finished a lot of the other lots for that world already, so please subscribe if you want to see more from this project. The Sims 2 nightlife expansion included the downtown sub-neighborhood filled with new activities such as bowling and karaoke. But it also came with a few residential lots, mainly small starter homes that look similar to each other in design, except for one, the House of Fallen Trees. The House of Fallen Trees is one of the only 4-story residential lots that's shipped with a Sims 2 pack. It could be purchased for 85,505 simoleons, but barely had any furniture. This made it somewhat expensive for a Maxis build house, but it was still far from the most expensive available. The most memorable part of this lot is its mysterious basement. As you can see, the basement floor is so deep underground that it requires several staircases to reach it. And down at the bottom, there are 2 coffins. For this build, I had originally placed sarcophagus tombs from the World Adventures expansion because I forgot that there was a vampiric altar bed that came with the late night expansion and not supernatural. And because I don't want supernatural to be a required pack for people who want to play the custom world, I initially forgot to look for the comments, but I realized my mistake and I do go back and fix it at the end. So ignore the sarcophagus tombs, they will be proper altar beds by the end of the video. There is no canon explanation for why the coffins are there, since none of the known residents were vampires. However, 2 of them did have vampirism as a turn-on, Jennifer and Frikarith Triku. The Triku family lived in the mansion before they all died under questionable circumstances. Jennifer was the head of the Triku family, which makes them one of only 3 matrilineal families from The Sims 2. An elder at the time of her death, Jennifer was married to John Smith Triku, with whom she had 2 daughters, Janail and Nelisset. Their daughters and their families lived in the home as well, meaning the House of Fallen Trees was once home to 8 Sims at once, all of whom died in quick succession. Based on the family's memories, John Smith was likely the first to die. But not only did he leave behind those still living in the mansion, but he also had 6 other children with unknown mothers who appear as teen NPCs or townies in the downtown sub-neighborhood. But maybe that's a story for another video. Jennifer, their daughter Nelisset, and the sons-in-law Kvornin and Kiernan died next, while the eldest daughter Janail is suspected to be the last to die of starvation. These 6 starved family members were buried at the Gothier Green Lawns Cemetery next door to the House of Fallen Trees. This left only the teenage grandchildren living in the mansion, Janail's son Frikarith and Nelisset's daughter Gavaudwin. Now unfortunately, they too would meet their fate in the house. Gavaudwin died in a fire, and her cousin Frikarith may have died in the same fire, but since his ghost appears orange, that suggests that he in fact died by getting hit by a satellite. Since that's a death unique to The Sims 2, when I create these Sims to place their graves on the lot, I will likely have them just both die in the same fire. But for now, I just placed generic tombstones from the By Debug catalog. While 8 members of the Triku family were living in the House of Fallen Trees, the mansion only has 4 bedrooms, 2 on the 2nd floor and 2 on the 3rd floor. The grandchildren may have shared a room, or some family members may have slept in the coffins in the basement, but all that being said, you can easily section off an area of the 2nd floor to make a 5th bedroom if you wanted to. The only bedroom that comes furnished is on the 2nd floor, but it does have a small ensuite bathroom with a toilet and a bathtub. For some reason, there's no sink, but I guess Maxis builds do be like that sometimes. There's also another small room probably intended for a bathroom. And the 3rd floor similarly has a small room that might be good to upgrade into a bathroom because it is next to one of that floor's 2 bedrooms. The 3rd floor doesn't come with any furniture, but the bedrooms are decent sizes, and there's a small area that could be used as like another common area, maybe a playroom, or you could wall it off and make a nursery. But it's nice to have that extra living space on the 3rd floor. The 4th floor is just 2 small areas. to create some visual interest in the roof. It's just two small boxes with some windows. But that does mean that the fourth floor is the only one with no balcony or deck. All of the floors below have nice uncovered outdoor spaces, as well as outdoor space that's covered by a roof or the floor above, which makes for some very nice balconies off of some of the bedrooms. Back to the main floor, as you can see, it's very sparsely furnished. The living room has two couches, a rug, a bookshelf, and a piano. And in the back corner of the house, there's a very basic kitchen that pretty much just has two countertops with a sink and a fridge and a small table with one chair. In the backyard, there's a willow tree next to a pond. And the pond was a little bit tricky just because above the pond there is a platform for a statue that is supported by pillars that go into the pond. The statue was a new addition that came with The Sims 2 nightlife called the Grey Woman of Sim City. According to the object's description, there's an in-game legend that the Grey Woman died in a house fire, and she now watches over babies and toddlers from beyond the grave, which is why babies and toddlers cannot catch fire or burn to death in the Sims franchise. Some have speculated that this somehow ties into the Triku family's fate. If the House of Fallen Trees once belonged to the Grey Woman, it could be cursed by fire, since Gvaudwin Triku also died in a fire, but it seems more likely that if there's a curse, it's related to everyone who lives in the house dying, not specifically by fire. As I mentioned earlier, the first 6 members of the Triku family who died were buried in the Gothier Green Lawns Cemetery, but Frickerith and Gvaudin are buried in the backyard, and they aren't the only ones. Sometime after all of the Trikus passed away, a young woman named Raynell Ningia moved into the mansion. It is unknown how long she lived there or whether or not the small amount of furniture that's left in the house had belonged to her, but what we do know is that she too died on the property. Since Frickerith and Gvaudwin are buried there, their ghosts haunt the lot. Raynell was scared to death after encountering them, and then she too was buried in the backyard. Now, any Sim who moves into the House of Fallen Trees will be haunted by 3 ghosts, the 2 teenage Triku cousins, and Raynell Ningia. The House of Fallen Trees is a perfect example of the lore that was often built into the games and packs from earlier in the Sims franchise. I had a lot of fun with this build, as I have with many of the lots I've recreated for the custom world that I'm making. And as I mentioned, that world is going to be a recreation of neighborhoods from The Sims 1 and 2, which are all connected into an open world that you can play in The Sims 3. I've pretty much completed all of Neighborhood 1, Old Town and Downtown from The Sims 1, as well as Pleasantview from The Sims 2, and I'm now working on the lots from The Sims 2 Downtown, which I sometimes stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/HannahCanada. Once I've completed Downtown, I'll be recreating lots from Desiderata Valley from The Sims 2 Free Time. It's a nice residential neighborhood to add a bit more housing to The Sims 3 world. And if you're interested in more builds, be sure to like and subscribe. If you want to learn more about this and other projects that I have on the go, you can get screenshots and more information over on hannahcanada.ca. Thanks so much for watching.